AITA for getting angry with my neighbor's kid for their friend being loud? I am not oop. Oop is you. Throw RA 122,343. Originally posted to R. Am I the asshole? AITA for getting angry with my neighbor's kid for their friend being loud? And NBSP. Original post. January 28, 2024. So I, 29F, have lived next door to my neighbors, Tom and Melinda, for my whole life, and he and his family have always been really nice. He has a son, Teddy, who's about 18-19. My parents moved out of state and left me the house when I turned 25. And my neighbor has always been there for advice if I needed it quick, and we have dinner every weekend. Anyways, yesterday around mid-late afternoon, I was watching TV when I heard some music coming from outside. I live on a corner lot and there is a four-way stop outside my house. As I stepped outside, I noticed a car sitting at the intersection with the windows down and music blaring, and the driver looking around while singing, obviously looking to see if he's getting attention. He turns down my street, and after passing my neighbor's house he does a U-turn and parks in front of my neighbor's house. Music still blaring. I walked closer to the car and Teddy got out of the passenger side of the car singing the song. I yelled at them if they could be any louder and that I could hear their shifty music from inside my house. Teddy and his friend has the audacity to start laughing at me and calling me a Karen. I yelled at Teddy that it's common courtesy to not blare your music while driving in a neighborhood. Teddy just stopped acknowledging me and went inside, and his friend just kept laughing at me and drove off. 5 minutes later I saw Tom's car through my living room window, and another 5 minutes later he was knocking at my door. I assumed he was going to apologize for Teddy's behavior, but instead he yelled at me for trying to parent his son. I explained the whole situation to him, as I figured Teddy probably left out key details, and explained he should teach his son common courtesy as he obviously needs some lessons. He called me a bitch and said my parents would be ashamed of me if they saw me right now. That really hurt me, and I shut the door on him and went to my room and cried. I just got a text from Melinda that I was no longer invited to their home for our usual weekend dinners, and that she and Tom were blocking my number. She also said I was no longer allowed to interact with her son in any way, and if I harassed him again, they would be contacting authorities. I think they're overreacting, but I figured I'd ask for a third-party perspective. So, AITA? Edit. Fixed spelling of courtesy, cause my autocorrect changed it to curiosity. Verdict. Asshole. Relevant comments. Asterisk. It was the middle of the afternoon, not 4 o'clock in the morning. And you actually walked over to their house to confront a couple of teenagers for basically being teenagers, when the presumed offending teenager, the driver, was leaving anyway. They weren't harming anyone, damaging any property, or driving recklessly. It seems like everyone overreacted here. But since you're asking about yourself, YTA. Oop, time of day doesn't matter. People shouldn't be going through neighborhoods blaring music. Period. It's rude and annoying. Also, the length of time he was there is also irrelevant. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter how quick it is. It is still wrong. Jamboree Junket YTA. You need to look up your town's noise regulations, because noise in a neighborhood is to be expected. Loud music under a certain amount of decibels is to be expected. The kid would have left eventually, and how loud or not they listen to their music in the middle of the day is none of your business if they are obeying the noise regulations for your town. You should not have gone and yelled at a kid, regardless of how well you know the family, because you are not his parents. You should have calmly talked to the parents about how loud it was later when you weren't upset. You owe them an apology for verbally assaulting their child. That's not a reasonable thing an adult does. Oop, I didn't verbally assault him. I told him to have common courtesy. I may have been louder than necessary, but I didn't use any demeaning words. Mortuary maiden YTA. It wasn't even 5 minutes and the driver was dropping Teddy off. Had you waited just a little bit, the problem would have resolved itself. Also, they flipped and ended the friendship rather quickly. Perhaps there's been other incidents in the past you didn't mention? Oop, this was the first time we've ever had any trouble. And NBSP. Update. January 30th, 2024. I get it. I'm the asshole. I don't know why my first thought when Teddy's friend was at the stop sign is that he was looking for attention. I also understand that I overreacted to such a short-lasting incident. And it did not call for any yelling on anyone's part. I should have just left it. Especially when I realized it was just Teddy getting dropped off. I told my parents right after the incident what happened. And they said they weren't going to get involved in my issues. My parents called me today and said Tom and Melinda both individually called them as well. They explained to them they weren't getting involved and told me Melinda thinks Tom overreacted as well but was serious about the dinners. Melinda never blocked me, and she and my parents convinced Tom to unblock me. I messaged them once I was off the phone with my parents that I wanted to see them both when Melinda comes home from her business trip at the end of the week. I plan to apologize fully and ask if they'll let me apologize to Teddy at some point soon. If not, I'll respect their wishes and never talk to Teddy again. I do feel bad. They've done so much for me throughout my life. And Teddy has been like a little brother to me. I overreacted and overstepped. Relevant comments. Leading Simple 3568 in original post you talked about Teddy like he was a stranger. Now he is like your brother? Seems Seuss. Oop, I was in a place of anger at the time. I've always thought of him as a brother. Kamhanic, it still seems suspect. He's over 18. Why are you waiting on the parents' permission to apologize? Never talk to him again, based on what other people say. Did they say Teddy asked you to never speak to him again? Or was that there also an overreaction? Someone needs to stop overreacting in all this. Teddy's parents seem more like your parents' friends than yours. So the immediate blocking makes some sense to me. But you letting them dictate your behavior sounds like an extension of letting other people piss you off so easily, too, that it's on someone else to manage. I hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask what I mean. But I don't actually suggest cutting relationships off based on someone else's say-so. For my main point, oop, they never mentioned how Teddy felt. I'm asking out of respect because they don't want me talking to him. I could talk to him, but it would basically be going behind their backs and risk getting them mad at me again when I'm trying to fix my first FUP. Plus, it's also to see if he's willing to forgive me and wants to keep in contact or not. An NBSP. This is a repost sub IAM not oop. Editor's note. Please remember the no brigading rule. Do not harass oops. Do not comment on the posts linked in Boris. This is a very serious problem on the BoRU sub. Doing so will result into a permanent ban from this sub and the other link sub. Again, please do not harass oops. I feel like everyone involved in this story massively overreacted. Especially for people who have allegedly been spending every weekend together for decades. The whole thing felt so deeply unnecessary. People get way too hung up on what's legal, not what makes you an asshole. This entire situation might just be one of the dumbest and unnecessary thing to happen. I am a middle-aged, pudgy, Asian dude. I have a simple cure for people playing their music too loud in their cars. I simply start dancing to the music. Nothing makes blaring your music less cool than seeing a guy like me get into it. Don't know if it works or not, but it at least amuses me. What an overreaction to non-issue. It does seem like parts are missing. As why would so many people that were close overreact all at once? My brain for some reason decided that for her to react that way it must have been late at night and going on for a while. It took me a bit for it to sink it that it was like 5 minutes in the afternoon. I know she says it clearly, but my brain seems to have deleted that when I first read it because I couldn't conceive of that reaction in that context. It does feel like something more happened that maybe Oop didn't notice for it to have such a strong reaction from the neighbors. But what an overreaction from her first. Overreactions going on left and right here. It's weird that they yell at OOP for trying to parent their kid, and then they go to OOP's parents to complain about them. Everyone seems very concerned about the parenting of children considering there are no children in this story at all. There are also a whole lot of people confusing what is legal with what is asshole behavior. There are plenty of things that are legal that are still asshole moves. It's an asshole move to blare your music in a neighborhood. It may be legal, and calling the cops may be an overreaction. But I feel like it's perfectly acceptable to tell your neighbor when they're being a jerk. At the very least, telling someone their music is too loud can't possibly be ruder than blasting music like that in the first place. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Teens. Play obnoxiously loud music. Op. Hey, keep it down over there. Teens' parents. Never talk to me or my son ever again. Every single person is bananas here. Wait, so it's okay to play music at a supposedly incredibly high volume while? I thought that was a dick move. Like when people walk down the street with music coming from a boombox rather than headphones. Everyone overreacted. This shouldn't a relationship-ending incident and the blocking was insane. It would annoy me if somebody was blasting music outside my house at any time of the day. But I wouldn't go over and yell at them. This was either an absolute overreaction on everyone's part or the real meaty part of the problem was left out. Don't try to parent our kid. And then they proceed to call Oop's parents to complain lol. I don't get why everyone is so up in arms. It is rude as hell to sit in your car blasting music super loud. Especially since a lot of people still work from home and still actually do have meetings happening. My nephew currently lives with me and he's around 20. If neighbors went outside to yell at him for doing that, I would have laughed at him. I think it's weird that both parents had to confront OP about this like their kid was 7 years old. And got scared by a neighbor yelling at him 'cause he was laughing too loud or something. The fact that they are hyper-defensive about their son over something stupid like this makes me think that they have gotten complaints about their son before for various things and they are extra sensitive about it. I cannot for the life of me fathom how OOP's mind works. In the current climate, if I got left a house for nothing, the neighbors could hold weekly death metal concerts in their backyard if they wished. I think this may be a prime case of unreliable narrator. I am surprised to see Oop was the asshole. You don't just go around blaring music and screaming at the top of your lungs without expecting attention and or to be yelled at. After Tom and Melinda's reaction, I'd be blocking them. Their parents would be ashamed of them.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.